Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I'm talking about preference. We all have them, don't we? It's pretty human to have preferences. Today, it is Pancake Day in the UK, also known as Shrove Tuesday, and we all love a pancake. Well, I don't know. Do we all love a pancake? I'm guessing most of us like a pancake, and I'm going to have some pancakes for tea today. And we'll have a preference of what we want to have on the pancakes. The traditional lemon and sugar is not what I will be having. Something savoury for me usually. But then there's syrup and all sorts of things. If you're, going to pile them up, and you can put ice cream on the top, and there's so many amazing things you can do with pancakes. But this live is not just going to be about pancakes. You'll be pleased to hear. But when we think about, our preferences, food is a really good example. Pancake toppings, ice cream, favourite chocolate bars. We hold those really lightly, don't we? We know that, if our favourite ice cream flavour or pancake topping isn't available, we could have something different. We'll be okay. We're not a little child. Little children do tend to get very upset, don't they, if their thing that they want isn't available. But we're not little children. We know that those things are not going to impact on our well-being. We know that we'll be okay if we don't have our preferred flavour of ice cream or pancake topping. And it is fun to have preferences like that, isn't it? To choose something that you like over something you don't particularly like or you don't like as much. However, it seems to me, and in my own journey in life, it has been very clear that there are some things that we think aren't preferences. We think their well-being, our well-being depends on them. So for me, when I was on my journey to burnout, it seemed to me that in order for me to be okay, certain things had to be a certain way. They were not preferences. They were well-being dependent. My well-being was dependent on these things. So examples of that would be certain people's behaviour. In fact, a lot of it was people's behaviour. My kids needed to be a certain way. My ex-husband, or before he was my ex-husband, when he was my husband, needed to be a certain way. People in my job who I was managing as a head teacher needed to be a certain way. My career, definitely all the way through it, I needed to get to the next level in order to be okay. And fundamentally, I know there's a lot shared about burnout and the cause, but the cause of burnout is the outside-in misunderstanding, as it is the cause of all human suffering, that we believe our well-being is dependent on certain things being a certain way. And because we then have things to do in the physical world, people to ensure they behave a certain way, circumstances being, my career for me being a certain way, it even spread into my behaviour on online dating. All of it was trying to seek a feeling outside of me by getting things to be a certain way. So I guess I became what you might call a control freak and wore myself out, because trying to control all those things for all that time just was unsustainable. It meant I was trying to do an awful lot in the world, and it also meant I was angry, and angry feelings also release a lot of adrenaline into your system, which is not particularly healthy. I'm not saying don't get angry. I'm just saying that is the impact of it. And I was angry day in, day out with, well, mostly with my ex-husband, but also with lots of other things in life. But it was the underpinning all of that stuff I was doing, all of those feelings I was experiencing, all of that frustration was fundamentally a misunderstanding about where my feelings were coming from. That's what drove it. And here's a space to bring some awareness to, really, if you're not feeling so good at the moment, if you're feeling stressed out, if you feel like there's lots of things you need to be doing in order for you to be okay in the outside world, it is to notice the kind of thinking that's going on behind that, and just noticing if you're saying, I need this thing to be in a certain way, or this person to behave in a certain way, and when they do, I'm going to finally feel okay. When that circumstance, that person, that whatever it is in the place I want it to be, then I'm going to finally feel okay. If you've got that, when X is in place, I will feel Y. If you've got that story, and it is a story because it just doesn't work that way, going on inside your head, just be aware of that. And I'm not saying try and change it or fix it or anything, because that's not what this is about, but it's about awareness. When we say that to ourselves, when we say, when this is in place, I'll be okay, we're telling ourselves a lie on so many levels. So many levels. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't prefer. Of course, we all prefer to have somebody in our lives who treats us well and, is kind and thoughtful and all those other things we might be seeking in another person. But our well-being isn't actually dependent on that. And I know that sounds maybe a bit abrasive and maybe a bit challenging. But the problem is, when we think it does, we're lost in the thought of trying to control those people and those things, those circumstances. And that is tiring and fills our head with so much noise. What happens when we realise that really how we feel on a day-to-day basis is coming from our perspective? It's coming from thought in the moment. It's coming from how we see life through our conditioned thinking. Something amazing happens. Suddenly it seems less important to control all those things outside of us. Now, it doesn't mean we still don't prefer certain things. I prefer to be spoken to politely. I prefer to, have certain things in certain situations. I like certain circumstances over others. But when I have the space that comes from knowing I don't have to force that to change in order to be okay, if it looks like our well-being depends on the outside world, it's just never ending. You will never, ever reach a point of feeling okay if you keep looking in that direction. Look in this direction. Look towards the truth of where your feelings are coming from. Get curious about how tightly you are grasping onto certain things being a certain way in order for you to be okay. And that's all this ever is a curiosity to notice what the stories are, to notice when I get X, I'll feel Y, those kind of things, just to be aware of them. And to know that underpinning that is not the paradigm in which you live. It just fundamentally isn't. Your experience is created inside out, not outside in. And when you realise that, you can still have those preferences, but your head is so much clearer that the next step comes with ease. It just comes from that space of being in the presence. So just get curious about where you've got that story of, when all these things are in a certain place, I'm going to feel okay. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.